say. And we can do a 0.5 point buy down, permanent buy down, can qualify at the 6%, and now they can afford to pay $696. They bought $36,000 more of buying power by the seller offering this $15,000, and their payment is lower, that buyer, as compared to if they just got a price reduction of $15,000. Keith, you know what I'm talking about? You got to unmic yourself, brother.
I did a video on it, and I just put the link in the.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's exactly. A 2-1 buy down versus a permanent buy down versus a purchase price reduction. What should you do with that money, right?
Right.
And so I'm not a fan of the 2-1 buy down, quite frankly.
Me either.
It's stupid short-term money, and you're betting on the house that the rates will come down in the next 2 years, so you don't shoot yourself in the foot. If you can take that same amount of money, and in this illustration, it uses a $25,000 illustration. Do I do a $25,000 price reduction? Do I do a $25,000 cover my 2-1 buy down, or do I do a permanent buy down with that $25,000? And which one works best?
It's permanent buy down.
Permanent buy down.
Right. So the permanent buy down. But here's the problem.
Yeah.
The problem, here's my message to the world that I'm working on. And Kevin, I'm talking about, like, we still have that Linwood deal for Aparna, and this is what we're telling her, right? And this is what I'm telling some of my other listings where, you know, even the sellers listed a little too high, right? For a period of time. The issue is that the buyer's agents need to be educated, or the investors, the investors, whoever's a buyer, regular retail buyer and investor buyer, needs to be educated on this stuff, because they're not, like, let's say in my case, I have a $695 listing. Well, a 660, today's qualified 660 buyer at 6.5 with a permanent buy down that Keith and I are talking about for 15 grand in my case, qualifies them to buy my 695 listing, but they're not searching for that because they're only qualified up to 660. So what I'm doing is putting the word out to all the agents and to everybody else, anybody who wants to listen, along with Keith and so forth. We're talking the same thing on, hey, agents, you guys need to be increasing your search parameters for your buyers by about $40,000 to $50,000 at least. You need to set those search parameters higher, or you will not see these listings that your 660 buyer qualifies for that's listed at 695. They qualify because our marketing is telling you, hey, we're going to give you $15,000 to buy down the rate by 0.5 point, which is going to get your 660 buyer qualified for my 695 listing, whatever, conceptually, right? Some give and take on either side. Now, Keith, you might say, well, that's cutting it pretty slim, with no margins there, but it's the concept that we're trying to get the word out about, right? So it has to, in my opinion, and I'm like, how do we get the message out? Well, we have to get the message out to the buyer's agents, and the buyer's agents simply need to increase. Of course, you want to increase your search parameters right now anyway, because you're looking to offer less on properties that have been listed too long, right? But that's not the real reason that you want to do it. The real reason, it's better for you to pay the higher price and have your buyer buy down the rate, because they're going to save money over the long term versus some $15,000 or $20,000 price discount. Go ahead. Which doesn't mean anything. You're buying
no, it means something very important.
Payment, lower payment.
This is what it means. It means you just set the comp for that fucking neighborhood $15,000 less than it should be.
Right.
The second you close, you are now the comp for that neighborhood. Now the next appraisal that gets done is not going to be able to support that value. So
now the reason
you're driving your neighborhood values down, and buyers agents aren't getting this and aren't explaining that to the buyers. And it's making me mad, because not only are you spot on that using that money to buy down the interest rate is definitely a much better use of $15,000, They're setting the market value for those neighborhoods.
Totally.
Driving me nuts.
And so I was doing the math on, like on some stuff, and that savings of when you buy down the rate, permanent buy down of the rate, times, if you're only going to live there for 2 years, don't buy the property.
Right.
If you think this is your 5-10 year place, do the math on what you're saving, and it'll come up to more than the $15,000, right?
There's a 5-year illustration and a 15-year illustration in that link video that I just.
Everybody should grab that damn video.
Yep.
Right. And that needs to be put out there.
So I sent that out to the Coeur d'Alene Realtor list, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, you made it so simple and so easy." And you see it side by side. It's no duh. We should be doing it this way.
No shit.
And it's just like.
Right. But but the message, how do you get the message? Oh, that makes sense. But now we need to tell agents, set your search parameters higher. If your buyer is pre-qualified at X, set it for $50,000 higher. So you're seeing these smart agents like myself who are keeping the price where it needs to be, and putting it in the marketing remarks. Hey, you guys have $15,000 to use for however you want, but I would recommend that you use it for a permanent rate buy down. So my question back to Alex is, like, when you guys are doing your deals, are you guys able to buy down rates for your investors doing buy and holds?
I mean, a lot. We have historically allowed buy downs of the rate. For us, usually it's like a 3-to-1. It's a 3-to-1 ratio. So it's like, if you pay 1.5 points, you can buy the rate down by like 0.5%. The break-even point for that on most of our loans ends up being like about 4 years. So it's like, we only really recommend it if a borrower is going to be holding the property at least that long.
Break even. Okay, that's good to know. But Keith, can I ask you a question? So on my example, this is great stuff for everybody to know. Kevin, this is good stuff, because this is what I'm talking about with modern real estate stuff, right? And you have to know all the tools in order to get things done today, in my opinion, right?
Right.
So, Keith, if it's a fit, like if I was talking to sellers and stuff like that or whatever, and I said, I need $15,000 of flexibility, right? Does that, in my case, that 15,000 bought $36,000 of buyer buying power, right? Because I think the best person to market this to is somebody that got kicked down in what they can buy in quality, location, and size. And they're like, shit, now I got to buy this 660 condo, which I don't like. It's too small. It's not finished enough for me. And the location's not as good. That message, like, hey, guess what? I can get you back up to what you want to buy, right? Is who the target is. And so, but I want to know from you, Keith, is how is it calculated? Like, can I say, look for $15,000 and get $40,000 of value? Right? Does that equate? Is it fluctuate daily, or it fluctuate per bank?
Yeah, it fluctuates daily per bank, how the bank hedges their funds, what spreads they have on each individual buy down.
Right.
But I think the best way to illustrate it is just with an A/B test. Like, on today's dates, given today's rates, if you had $15,000 and you did a $15,000 buy down of an interest rate, so you bought the 660 at 6.5, but you could buy the 690 at 6.125, and the payments are the same. Why? That's the extra buying power that you're referring to.
I want to be able to say something where I'm not having to check in with a bank every day or with rates every day. I'm looking for a concept, a marketable concept, right? Where I can say these aren't necessarily the exact numbers, right? But, like when every time I come across, I'm talking to somebody, I don't want to have to go check in with somebody.
Yeah.
Or check in. So is it conceptually that $15,000 will buy you half a point? Or you know what I mean?
No, no, because you have too many variables there based on, like I said, the hedge spreads that they have, because spreads change every day, sometimes hourly, as well as the loan amount, right? $15,000 is a set finite number of
Yeah.
cash, and it's
Yes.
not proportionally distributed to a percentage of a loan amount, right?
So how does it calculate it, I guess, is the question on what the buy down cost. How is a half a point buy down? Half a point, a quarter of a point, there's not enough. It kind of needs to be, in my opinion, right? Like a half a point. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and keep in mind, the bigger the loan amount, the smaller the rate fluctuation, the more impact it has, right? So an eighth on a $200,000 loan is inconsequential. An eighth on a $2 million loan is hugely consequential.
So you said an eighth. You're basing it off an eighth. What's the eighth?
An eighth in rate is the incremental rate sheet movement that we have. So you could lock in at 6.5, or you could lock in at 6.375, and then 6.25, and then 6.125.
Okay. So we're dealing with an eighth.
Yep.
And an eighth costs how much to change something by an eighth?
See, and this is where we get into a slippery slope because
Okay.
it's going to be predicated on your loan amount, right?
Yeah.
So $15,000 as a percentage of a $2 million loan amount is a drop in the bucket. A $15,000 concession on a $300,000 loan amount is a huge concession, right? So it will definitely depend. And that's why you would want to make a finite example. And I think if I'm hearing you right, the illustration or the point that you want to make is, that seller concession should be a buy down to create more lendability, to
Correct.
increase your purchase price. And here's an example of a $700,000 purchase, right? And then you can give them that example.
Do me
Right.
$799 because I got one I need the numbers on right now.
Yeah, I'll update you one for $799.
So the whole idea though is that is knowing this information on any property. If you're a flipper, or you're selling one of your properties, you want to know the math on this so you can talk about it. So anytime you go to sell one of your properties, if you think in your head, I'm going to list it for X, but I have some flexibility, you call up your favorite lender and you say, hey, I want to know what my flexibility, maybe my flexibility is $25,000. I'm going to go for it, but I have flexibility of $25,000. So if I need to, I want to be able to have a conversation of, I call them a buy-up buyer,
Yeah.
This applies to everybody, investors, everybody, because you guys got to sell your properties, right?
So on a $799 purchase price, 20% down on a conventional loan, a $15,000 buy down would take you from, our current rate is 6.875. It would take you down to 5.875. It would take you down a whole point in rate. I'll put together a mortgage illustration for you.
That's because of the 20% down, right?
Well, that's a loan level pricing adjustment. Keep in mind, loan level pricing adjustments are credit, LTV, property type, all driven on that.
We're going to assume 740 plus FICO, right?
Yep, 740 plus FICO, 20% down.
But what if somebody, what's the difference then at 10% down?
It's going to get better because guess what? Little known secret, mortgage insurance actually makes it a better security because if there is a default, we're going to get paid as the lender. So pricing typically gets better at 90 and 85% loan to value.
You go.
Yeah. So I've written loans up to like 83 or 85% loan to value. So
that is such a nugget, what you just said, right? Hey, guess what? You can keep more of your money in your pocket, more of your down payment money in your pocket, right? And still get a better rate. with a buy down.
Yeah, you're at 5.99 on this on the 10% down. So that illustration didn't go well.
875 to
Because
5.99.
yeah, 5.99 because what you did is you crossed the high balance threshold. You went over the $647,000
Oh, for
loan.
God's sakes.
Yeah.
There's so many,
So,
you know, I hear what you're saying versus high balance.
but
I'm determined to figure out some sort of message and keep it simple, which you've already done with your video.
buy down to buy more. That's your message.
Ooh, buy down to buy more. Put a
Really, I
little,
was gonna say this is why people like Keith and I have jobs, because it isn't always super simple.
right.
Yeah, I know.
But that's a good one, Keith. I'm gonna say that's a Keith one. Buy down to buy more. That's good. That's simple, right?
Yep.
Buy down to buy more.
And I got a doctor's appointment I have to go take my son to, but I just want to say hi everybody and happy Thanksgiving.
Now, how the hell did you miss the Coeur d'Alene event when we're all right there in your backyard?
I freaking put it on the wrong weekend on my calendar.
Oh my God.
I totally did. I left Mariska a message. I'm like, oh my, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that was a Dumbo one because that was such a good one. That was a good one. You would have.
I didn't know it until Joanna texted me on Sunday. She's like, I totally missed you at the event. I hope you're having a good. I'm like, event? That's next weekend. What event?
Oh well.
Now I'm blushing. I feel like an idiot.
Well, you've redeemed yourself with your buy down, buy more.
Perfect.
So,
Keith,
awesome.
Well, I gotta go take my son to the doctor, so we'll catch you guys later.
All right. Thanks for coming back to visit us, brother.
I'm assuming there's no meeting next Thursday since it's Thanksgiving, right?
Good assumption. Yeah.
Yeah, good assumption. Okay. We'll catch you later.
Adios, amigo. Okay. Whoops. Where am I at? Lost you guys for a second there. Just want to capture Keith's thing there. I mean, this is a hot topic right now. So sorry to kick it off with that, but I saw Keith and Alex there. I was taking a shower. Alex, I was thinking about you in the shower. I was like, hey, let me ask Alex if they have any type of buy down program at certain lending. That would be worth doing a little video or something for you guys, Alex, to show how it would work for your borrowers or however you guys do that.
So we've actually offered buy downs as long as we've offered long-term loans.
Yeah.
It's just like for our borrowers, right? Like, because it's an investment property, a lot of times what's constraining the loan isn't necessarily the rate that's making a difference here. A lot of times it's like we're telling the borrower, hey, look, we're tapping out at like 80%
Loan to value. Yeah.
LTV for the purchase, and that's what's tapping out the loan. So buying down the rate just becomes purely an exercise in, okay, do you think you're going to hold the property for 5 years plus, and are you okay paying the extra 1.5 points to buy the rate down upfront? Because we charge a lot more for a buy down than the conventional world does. So
Right.
it's just purely a numbers game at that point. And our ability to offer buy downs has also fluctuated a little bit, especially as rates have gone up. Like, sometimes our loan buyers are telling us, hey, look, for properties in this state, we're not going to offer buy downs anymore. So it's harder for us to have like just an overall encompassing policy. It's more like, okay, look, the individual loan officers, you need to understand our policies and communicate to your clients when a buy down is an option.
Right. Word. That's what we need to get the word out on all these agents, because then we need them searching for higher prices. So they see these, so they actually see, otherwise they will, if you're qualified at 660, you're not going to look at 695. Everybody needs to increase what they're looking for because they're missing these marketed opportunities. I see it all the time, rate buy down marketing, and they're speaking to the brick wall, as far as I'm concerned, because nobody can see it. Because your audience is the lower price point is the obvious audience there, or the ones that would be most excited about it, especially if it's a property with variables on it, right? I think that's a way to pull the buyers in. Dante, that might something like that. That information there might work for you if you're buying, properties off the MLS for your boarding room style stuff, and you're putting long-term loans on there. How are you financing those? Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Busy. What was the? I was like multitasking.
Oh, no worries.
You were talking about which kind of loan?
I'm saying if you were multitasking and you missed all this, the easiest thing to do is to make sure you go into the chat and grab and watch Keith's video that he did comparing. We're talking about the hot topic these days of buying down the interest rate, having the seller contribute funds
Afford
towards
more?
buying down your rate. Yeah, so you get bigger buying power, and why that's better than getting a price reduction on people that are going to be there a while. Like if you're buying
From
your
the seller.
if you're buying your boarding room style investments and you're putting long-term loans on there, right? You want to make sure that you know this information that might actually work in your favor.
Yeah, that makes sense. I I haven't done the numbers yet on the kind of new interest rates, but the next kind of project that I'm working on, it's probably going to be something similar, but now kind of with a couple investors. So the traditional ones have been just that I own myself, so the loans are pretty cheap. So I think I'm going to have to pay a little bit more for interest moving forward. Yeah.
Not anymore. Awesome stuff. Does anybody have anything? What's up, Troy? Mwah! I've missed you. And Ian. 2 big kisses. Hi, Ian. Haven't seen you two fellas for a while. Where are you guys? I know Ian's been off in like Southeast Asia somewhere. Troy, where the hell have you been? Under like the crawl space, about 50,000 crawl spaces or what?
Yep. As far as I know, the market hasn't slowed down.
Yeah, I bet. That's how I feel, That's how I feel. The market hasn't slowed down. It's actually sped up 10 times over here. You just been busy doing inspections or what?
Yeah, I spent a week in Michigan firing and training a new manager who we just fired again today. So
Nice. So you still own the park?
Yep.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm trying to unload a $90,000 mobile home in Oak Harbor right now myself. If anybody wants to flip a mobile home, I might be able to get it to you for about 75 grand. You put about 25 in it and sell it for 140. You have any mobile home buyers, Alex?
Not really, because for certain lending right now, mobile homes, manufactured homes are
I guess
completely
they
off
just
limits
pay
for
cash.
us.
Okay.
Yeah, so most of my borrowers, as soon as I tell them that, they're just like, okay, yeah, I have a private money or something that I'll work with.
Exactly.
Um,
Troy,
Is it on land?
no, it's in a park. So you have to flip it. We have park approval to flip it.
Yeah, Tim Trend. Julie?
Huh?
Yeah, Tim Trend.
I don't know who that is. Tim Trund?
TREND.
TREND, Tim Trend?
Yes. He does a lot of mobile home stuff. I can make the intro if you want.
Sure, that would be super rad.
Yeah.
We actually have it listed. You guys can see it. We have it listed for 90 and we've had 2 offers. But neither one of the buyers could qualify at the park. So now it's going to flip to maybe like wholesale.
Is the home financeable?
No,
So it's all cash.
it's cash.
Yeah, 100 grand on cash in Oak Harbor. That's hard. Senior Park or
2 offers though. 2 offers,
at what?
for moving buyers. One at our list price at 90 and one at 75, which would be fine. But neither one of them could qualify with the park.
Why were the park's qualifications so high?
I don't know what came back. I have to ask Julia Phillips on this with me. We just found out this morning. So we're just in high speed mode to get it going elsewise. Julia's got the team there to do the work too. So somebody just needs to buy it, but yeah, that would be awesome, Kevin, that if you can hook me up there with that person, maybe.
Will do.
Thank you.
I have a question on the buy down rate. If you get the seller to buy down the rate and then you go to refi once the rates start going down and you refinance it, does that buy down go away or does that move over to so let's say later on you're able to get a 5% rate. Does that move over to that 5% rate?
That's a great question, Ian. I don't know the answer. I would assume it goes away. but that's a great question.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to, if it goes away, I don't know if it'd be that appealing to me because, most people are predicting that once the inflation has stopped, that
But
the Fed will start lowering the rate.
you're not paying for the buy down. Ideally, the seller's paying for the buy down.
Right, that's true, but still, it'd be less appealing if you know that in 2 or 3 years you're going to refinance anyways.
Well, let's debate that for a second. So your payment will be lower versus what? The alternative of just lowering the price, right?
Right.
So the payment is lower with the buy down. And I guess the question is on the appreciation, right? Or something like that plays into it also, right? So if
Well, I think
somebody,
the question would be like, okay, if I plan to refinance in 2 or 3 years, would the lower payment of those 2 or 3 years be worth it to me, more worth it to me than getting a lower, you could say take that off the down payment or whatever,
let's ask Keith right here. He can answer questions while he's going to the doctor. I'm going to ask him. Keith. Good question, Ian. We'll see if we can get that answered. Does anybody need any help with anything today? I'm sending Keith a message. Does buy down, does perm buy down?
I have a question.
I mean, it's a different bank, right? So it would I assume it goes away unless you're refinancing with the same bank. Right, Ian?
I don't know that, like, that's the question I have is, does that, it's you say permanent buy down, is that like, like I said, does that move over to a new mortgage?
Ian, I would probably assume that it wouldn't, like, just act as though it wouldn't, because think about it from the bank's perspective, right? Like, and how they're trying to make money. Does it make sense for them to keep offering this policy on a new loan?
Right. That's I would assume it wouldn't move over anyways. But
Which is sort of counterintuitive to a little bit of why loan assumptions are available on FHA and VA, right? I mean, wouldn't they prefer those to just be paid off and get a higher rate? But it's a good question. We're going to find out, Ian. Love it. Good stuff.
Speaking of loan assumptions, have you been seeing a lot of those here locally, Julie?
I am pursuing those. We have one marketed on Aparna's house right now. We're getting a lot of hits on that. We have another one that we just listed this morning in kind of West Seattle area. Again, loan assumptions. The honest truth is that most agents have no clue. I mean, there could be tons of properties available that are listed that are available for loan assumption, and the agents just have no clue in order to ask those questions. So I'm seeing them, yes. I'm pursuing those, yes. I'm training everybody to go hunting for those, yes. But there'd probably be tons more if the word would get out, You could see a thread. This is how stupid it is. You can see a thread of 1,000 agents bitching about interest rates, and not one will mention loan assumption. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. So that's what I'm saying. You got to be working with people that know what they're doing these days in order to, you have to capture all conversations, So what else is happening?
Quick question on the loan assumption though. When you sell a property through loan assumption, it just transfers title to the new owner, correct? How does that, I guess, like the detailed process look like there? I haven't done any loan assumptions myself.
They get the bank releases the bank has to approve the new buyer. They say it only takes 10 to 14 days. I don't know if I'd count on that, right? Probably a lot of but you submit the contract, and the new buyer has to submit all their qualifications to the lender. Every lender is different. So again, this is this lender thing, and you want to confirm that the lender will release the underlying seller from that loan, of which we've been told, yes, the seller will be released on the ones that we've called on, which have so far. And that one was like with PennyMac, and one's with, well, what's the other one with? Maybe Wells Fargo or something like that. And it's no appraisal, no inspection. I think the fee was about $900.
Just to transfer it over to the new owner.
It goes all through escrow, just like a regular transaction. And we haven't closed one yet, but we're definitely trying. The problem is that the down payment scenario. So you have to gross up and calculate the down payment to cover excise tax and commissions and stuff like that. So it's really great for, somebody, it just depends on how much somebody's down payment is, right? So the payment number is much lower what they can afford, but they have to have the down payment money in order to gap whatever the current loan balance is to the purchase price. Now, are there creative options to solve beyond that, like the seller carrying back a seller financing second or something like that to gap what they're short? There's all kinds of solutions there. When you say, Troy, right? He's like, yeah, I'm listening.
I'm totally paying attention to what you're saying. No, I mean, you got to have options, and the assumption is super powerful. Most people, unless it's VA, most people didn't even know that FHA loans were assumable. So this is a whole new branch, but
it has to be a primary residence. It can't be an investor, to the best of my knowledge.
VA, it can be. I mean,
can it?
I mean, you can because the VA is not necessarily a single loan limit; it's a price limit. You can assume someone else's VA as long as you're underneath that loan limit and have multiple VA loans on properties. So if you want to move and assume and then turn your old VA without refinancing into a rental property, you can.
But can a buyer come in and assume a VA loan if the buyer is like a investor?
They probably have to move in on a new.
Yeah. Right. So the underlying seller can convert it to a rental. We're talking about assumption, right?
Right. So buyer is a VA buyer. They've already got a loan on property A. They want to assume property B, which is fine as long as their VA total can support the two.
Gotcha.
And they can move in here and rent this out without refinancing.
Got it. Good little niche. That's a little technicality there. That's a good one. Yeah, and you know what else is huge? Of course, we all talked about lease options are big right now. All that stuff. It is so deployable. It's crazy. I'd say the biggest challenge that we're having with all that creative stuff is the down payment money. For some reason, that seems to be a little bit of the tail wagging the dog. Not that people are willing to do it, sellers willing to do it. It's just putting it together with the right mix of down payment. People like the idea of being able to afford the lower payment, but depends on how, depends on terms and timing and stuff like that. So, I just hosted a modern real estate boot camp over here at the house last week? It took me a lot of effort to prepare for that, but it was huge success. I call it the walk the line conversation. It all starts with cash offers, right? But it's people are open to listening to anything these days. And I think it can apply to any asset class that you're interested in, right? What's going on and Alex, what's happening in your world? You guys seeing a lot of deals? Are you guys seeing things? Was it heads up?
Business has definitely slowed down for us some. Just like rates went up, right? The Fed's having the effect that they intended, right? Rates go up. It's harder for folks to buy investment properties. Our business, drops down a little bit. Yeah. We're responding by trying to be a little bit more flexible on like the types of properties we offer. So, what I just posted in chat, right? we're now offering a bank statement type loan where we're no longer tying the loan to DSCR, we're tying them to the DTI of a bank statement, or sorry, a bank account.
Okay.
And it's kind of in, like I said there, right, it's intended for folks with non-traditional renters. So like if you have Airbnb income, if you have a corporate rental, if you have rent by the room, if you have, like
Ooh.
what Dante does, right? We don't need to care about whatever your DSCR is anymore. It's more like, okay, if the property is like the type of property we'll lend on, right, 1 to 4 units, and you have a bank account or bank accounts with really strong DTI, we'll use that number and we'll build a loan based off of that.
Are you guys requiring 20% on those? Or 25?
For a purchase, yeah, still require 20% down. And then like we'll get more aggressive on pricing if you can do lower leverage. So like we pretty frequently have borrowers that are like, hey, look, I'm doing a 1031, so I'm putting down like 40 or 50% on this property. And we're like, okay, yeah, we'll get you a better rate.
Sweet. Good to know.
Hey, Alex, I have several houses that I bought in Georgia with cash. I might refi later with the, if the market turns around. So,
yeah, I mean, look, so I mean, where our rates are sitting right now, like I'll be honest, we're usually about 1.5 to 2% higher than conventional. So I think Keith was saying conventional sitting in like the high 6s right now. We're probably going to be in like, so that puts us in like the 8.5 to 9.5 range.
oh,
somewhere.
wow. Okay.
So I do encourage my clients, if you can, go get conventional financing. It's going to be the cheapest financing that you can get. Use us when you're in a situation where like maybe you've maxed out all your loans, or maybe your tax returns aren't in good shape or something like that. Great, we have some solutions there. But
I'll reach out, Alex.
Yeah, happy to talk, Dante.
No.
I'll leave you my email address.
Yeah. What else is going? Kevin, what's going on in your world these days? Picking up, slowing down?
We are slowing down a little bit. We're just trying to find the right investors that are still looking to buy in this market. And slowly but surely, the sellers are starting to come around. And they're realizing, okay, market's not as hot as it was, and there are better deals being had. Like we're about to place one in like the low 7s in Bellevue for like just a cosmetic fixer in like 1,800-ish square feet. So sellers are kind of starting to come down a little bit on pricing. So we're seeing some good deals now.
Is that because they have like some sort of need? Is there some sort of distress there, or they're just tired landlords?
No, so most of them are homeowners. We get like maybe 10% that are investors that sell with us. The majority are the primary owners and live in the home, or they're probate or something like that. So there is usually some kind of distress that allows them to sell a little bit lower.
Yep. Things are changing. People are being more flexible. Yeah. What else is going on? Daniel, what are you noticing out there in your world? He's busy on his flips. There's a buyer for you. Daniel, do you know Kevin?
Hello.
Introduction,
no,
Kevin. Check that next to me. Kevin Ackerman from Sundae. Meet Daniel Allen.
Oh, yes. I know the name. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't recognize the face. Yes.
Have you signed up on the Sundae platform yet, Daniel?
Yeah, I have. I've looked at a few of them. Yeah, we're just so familiar with the MLS. We haven't pulled the trigger on anything on Sundae, but I am signed up, and yeah, I think we've talked a few times on text, Kevin.
I think so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, what's the advice that you have for investors that are on Sundae? You guys put it out there at a price, like a bid price or whatever, a starting price, whatever you want to call it. If it expires, is there opportunity there? Should somebody give up? Do they give up, or do they, what do they do there? Obviously, nobody wants it to expire, but I imagine that happens sometimes. What's your advice for investors to keep on trucking in regards to the Sundae platform?
Yeah. So in the case that they can't, what I usually tell them is that we do offer what's called a purchase direct option. And that's when we actually go back to the seller, say, hey, we couldn't get you the offers that you wanted. You didn't like any of them. Give us a price that will work for you. And then we'll go back out and market at that price point to try and get something put together. And usually, I mean, when
saying that to the seller?
Right. So then we come back with a set price, and then I say, hey, Mr. Investor, we got it for you at this price. Does it still work? Yes. Okay, let's move forward with a contract and go from there. But a lot of times you do try to work behind the scenes. Like we've got like, I think 3 right now that we're trying to put together behind the scenes now that they didn't get the offer they wanted. We're kind of going back and forth and negotiating on terms and whatnot. And we're pretty close to coming to terms on those now.
So do you choose the investor, who's those terms are with an investor in the mix, or Sundae is trying to just get the bottom line terms that the seller will, I mean, who's determining whether that number is going to work? Because I could see a scenario where you try again and it still doesn't work, right? Where they, you know, or is there an investor there saying, hey, I'll do it for X, and you're just trying to match it up?
So the way our purchase direct program works is that we get the go price from the seller directly. It's like, hey, we'll show them comps, we'll kind of educate them a little bit on the market and say, hey, like we need a reasonable number where you will move forward if we get you this price. And then once we do establish that price with the seller, we then go back with the investors and try to get that place for them.
As opposed to, what's the other program that is not the seller direct program? They're just
direct auction. So you're saying, hey, seller, we'll try and get you the best offers that we can. We can say that you're going to be somewhere in this range. Does that work for you? Yes. Okay. Then we go out and get the offers for them. And usually they do line right around our projections.
Okay. So one is a little less education, letting this is a little faster process to get it on the platform. The second one requires a little bit more like, okay, let's educate you a little bit more and get a better number. Gotcha.
Yeah. So we start off with the auction, trying to get them as many offers as possible within the price range that they're willing to accept. But then if we don't get the numbers that they want, that's when we narrow it down to a specific number.
Have you had any retail buyers just buy it for cash? Like, are you guys able to know? I mean, are there, there's still cash out there, right? For even retail buyers having cash. It surprises me on some of the things I've been working on lately that, even there's cash out there still. Do you have anybody ever come in and it's not an investor and they just come in and pay cash because
we've had a couple of those, frankly, like we've had maybe like 2-3 of those in the past year or so.
Yeah.
So it's not very common. We usually refer the MLS ready properties to our agent referral network. And so we're starting to more and more rely more heavily on that agent referral network to get, word of mouth leads and
right.
Yeah. So if we do have a retail lead, we'll usually, if there isn't like enough distress, like aside from the property being in good condition, then we'll refer it out if they want top dollar.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Well, guys, it's 12:15. We're a little slim here. I have been so freaking busy getting my boot camp ready and everything and all the crazy deals going on right now that I have done a terrible job reminding everybody to show up here. Thanks to Joe. He sends out an email for us. What do you guys feel? Anybody else have anything that they need help on today or want to talk about? Otherwise, I'm going to snap it early so Joe can get on his bike and I can go eat that, hash browns and sausage waiting for me over there next to me that I'm smelling. I'm hungry. Anybody got anything today? Good to see you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Anybody doing anything extremely exciting? I've just caused myself more stress by inviting too many people over, but how about you guys? Anybody doing, Joe, are you coming to town? Yes?
Yep, on my way in.
You're going to be you're going to be in the Kenmore, you're going to be in Seattle or what?
I'll be in Enumclaw first and then headed up to Kenmore after that.
Okay, there you go. Guess who I'm going to see maybe. Did you guys get the van sold? No van sold.
Nope, next buyer is supposed to meet us in Enumclaw to come look at it.
Okay. Well, that sucks, but you'll get it done. I know you will. All right. Anything else, guys, before we sign off today? All right. Going once, going twice, 12:16 on Thursday, November 17th. We'll catch you next time.
That's good.